Ali, I want to start here with Oracle's partnership with OpenAI, because one BNP Paribas analyst told Yahoo Finance that OpenAI's potential inability to pay for its AI infrastructure could be one of Oracle's biggest risks. We've seen this recent sell-off. What do you make of that? Is OpenAI's inability or ability to pay a major risk to Oracle moving forward?
It is indeed a major risk, and thank you very much for having me. I do believe it's a major risk. OpenAI, according to Microsoft's financial statements, is losing around $12 billion a quarter, and their financial disclosures are not very transparent. And as Oracle's largest customer, essentially they could be a source of risk. One of the biggest component of capex that Oracle has is building data centers for that are contracted with OpenAI. And an open question would be, in case there is a failure to pay by OpenAI, how can those data centers be repurposed?
Ali, how do investors assess this long-term potential of AI while also taking into consideration the risks on their near-term balance sheet?
I do think that looking at balance sheets actually is a good place to start. If you look at Oracle on the surface, the financial statements show significant growth in the earnings. But if you look at the details of those earnings, the earning growth was come from a non-recurring item, which was a sale of a venture that they had with SoftBank. And that contributed roughly $2.5 billion to their earnings. If you take that out, Oracle is essentially operating income is growing at a fairly respectable 12 to 15%, which is, again, very good number in and of itself, but it is not the explosive growth that would justify equity valuation to move higher. And another factor that is impacting equity, and that's really like where my interest in Oracle is on the credit side. If you look at credit spreads, Oracle's credit spreads are moving wider and wider because their capex has gone from $6 billion over the prior 6 months period to $20 billion. And that's a significant growth in capex that is being funded by credit.
There are some key concerns around not just Oracle, but other even smaller AI players here like CoreWeave, some credit risk concerns. How do concerns over a company like CoreWeave sort of trickle into Oracle's and investors' concern there, but also the other larger, broader AI trade that has really led this stock market rally over 2025?
Sure. At the end of the day, Oracle, I think of it as a relatively safe company when it comes to credit. They have their software business. Other than OpenAI, if you look at their other major customers, they are Microsoft, there is NVIDIA, there is ByteDance, and then you always have Mr. Larry Ellison, who is a genius. So on one hand, Oracle is I think of it as on the safer side of the credit play. But as you mentioned, CoreWeave and CoreWeave's business model is under threat. And I think some of the movement that we are seeing in Oracle's credit spread and cost of capital is more really because CoreWeave CDS is so expensive that investors that have exposure to data centers, rather than trying to hedge by CoreWeave, and you have to pay a lot to hedge CoreWeave's credit risk because they are a high yield company. They come and use Oracle shorts as a proxy for AI credit risk. And I do not necessarily believe that that's the best proxy for AI credit risk. And at the same time, as you are pointing it out correctly, like some of the concerns that people have in CoreWeave, because they cannot express it by shorting CoreWeave, because you have to pay a lot of money to short CoreWeave, they are just using Oracle as a cheap proxy.
And now, Ali, you mentioned it at the top of that, but now TikTok is something that Oracle has its hands on, especially particularly here in the U.S. operations. ByteDance, the parent company there. investors hearing this maybe for the first time thinking Oracle is going to be part of a group of investors who own TikTok here in the US. How do you make that? How do you make way of that should this eventually come to fruition?
We think that anyway, Oracle and ByteDance have a relationship that has been going on for a few years, where Oracle has been providing their cloud services to ByteDance's US operations, and that partnership has been growing. I do think that the joint venture, and it's important to note that this is not a merger per se, it's more a joint venture of which Oracle is a shareholder, is going to bring a very stable kind of essentially customer of their AI services back to them. So to some extent, that balances out the risk that Oracle has to OpenAI, where if you have an OpenAI credit event, you probably that's going to be offset by the fact that you have other stable customers like ByteDance. And then in the event that ByteDance becomes a major revenue source, that could also further reduce credit risk and possibly be a source of profitability for Oracle.
So we all have to buckle up and see how 2026 holds out for Oracle. Ali Meli, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. It was fun.